Hi, I'm Bailey Drexler with the Xavier University Center for the Study of the American Dream. Today we're here in Chicago, Illinois with Alex Polikoff, a longtime member of Business and Professional People for the Public Interest. And thank you for joining us today.
Sure.
So my first question to you is if you could just introduce what BPI does, how long you've been here, and just a little bit about yourself.
I've been in Chicago all my life, went to the University of Chicago Law School, worked for a number of years with a commercial law firm, did a considerable amount of pro bono work for the firm, and then BPI and its executive directorship presented itself as an opportunity to do what I thought of as pro bono work full-time. So I moved over here to be the executive director. BPI is a public interest law and policy center. We work in a number of different areas. Lawyers who work without fee we're supported as a charity by contributions from foundations and individuals. Currently, our areas of emphasis in our work are school reform, housing, both public housing, especially discrimination in public housing, and the creation of affordable housing, and political reform efforts of several different sorts. I've been with BPI since actually April 15th, 1970, a long time. First 29 of those years as executive director, and now I'm staff counsel, having semi-retired.
When you were in law school, did you know that this is what you wanted to do with your work?
Not really. I began attending meetings of the board of directors of the local chapter of the Illinois Civil Liberties Union when I was in law school. And that got me interested in the work they were doing. And some of the, in fact, much of the public interest work, the pro bono work that I mentioned earlier that I was doing while at the law firm was for the ACLU. And in law school there was one professor in particular, Harry Calvin Jr., who was a First Amendment scholar, and he inspired me to get interested in First Amendment questions, and that was some of the ACLU work I did. And that sort of led naturally into a broader compass for the public interest work and into BPI.
When you were growing up, did you have an idea of what the American dream was?
I did have a sense of opportunity being available in America, by contrast with many places elsewhere in the world where that's not so, with an emphasis on mobility. Poor people raised in poverty have an opportunity, given the freedoms in this country, to move on up the social and economic scale. One of our current problems is that that's becoming less and less so in America, and I assume we'll talk about that.
After all your experience with BPI, do you have any sense now of a definition of the American dream?
I think our challenge now is to recover that portion of the American dream that I fear we are losing because of the inroads of poverty, lost economic opportunities or lack of economic opportunity for so many people. Moving up the social and economic ladder in the old way is much more challenging now. And I think we're faced with the reality of having to address that.
You do have hope that we can recover the American dream?
We have hopes that we can. I think we've got to deal with some serious barriers that have been erected to what we're kind of loosely calling the American dream.
Right.
One aspect of that, a principal aspect of that, I think, is corporate power, the power of major agglomerations of capital in our society, now enhanced by the Supreme Court's Citizens United decision, so that we no longer have a situation in which what we think of as democracy is functioning in the normal way. We are supposed to, we meaning people who vote, elect our representatives to govern us, but in the wake of the Citizens United decision, and this was true to a considerable extent even before that decision, those representatives are more and more beholden to huge moneyed interests in our society. That's one aspect of the challenge we face. Another aspect is thrusting, if you will, right at the vitals of democracy. We're having a rash, an epidemic, I would say, of what I call voter suppression laws, erecting what I think is a false pretense of an attempt to deal with problems of voter fraud, erecting so many barriers to particularly poor and minority people having the franchise, having the ballot, having the ability to vote, that I think we're threatened with excluding large segments of the American population from the ballot box, and the implications of that to our democracy are pretty profound.